There's a quiet tension that lives inside some men, a constant weighing of words, actions, and intentions against an unseen scale of harm. They move through relationships like careful travelers on fragile bridges, aware that a misstep might fracture what they hold most dear. Love for them is both a sanctuary and a responsibility that hums beneath every choice. It is not recklessness they fear, but the quiet damage left unspoken, the invisible bruises of miscommunication, misunderstanding, or unmet expectations. In this space between affection and apprehension, a complex tenderness grows, a profound, often lonely attentiveness to the well-being of another, a fear that love itself can wound. He moves through the world with a quiet attentiveness, an almost invisible weighing of each gesture, each word. In relationships, this attentiveness becomes a constant companion, a vigilance born not of suspicion, but of care. Every smile he offers, every touch, every joke, is measured against the potential it has to wound. It is not fear of rejection that guides him, nor a desire for control. It is a deeper, more intimate concern, the possibility of hurting the person whose presence illuminates his life. In this careful awareness, love is inseparable from responsibility. The heart that beats in this mode carries an acute sensitivity. Small misunderstandings feel monumental. A careless comment, a delayed response, a fleeting glance. The mind catalogs each, replaying them in quiet loops of anxiety. He wonders whether his intentions are sufficient to prevent the inadvertent creation of sorrow. And yet, despite this vigilance, there is a paradoxical loneliness. For every step taken to protect, there is a step withdrawn from spontaneity. Love is a bridge, but each crossing feels perilous. This tension shapes his daily life. Conversations are rehearsed internally before being spoken aloud. Emotional expression is filtered, carefully considered, tested against an internal moral compass that seeks to minimize harm. The intimacy he desires is often shadowed by restraint, a subtle fear that the very act of loving might inflict subtle wounds. Even in moments of joy, there is an undercurrent of caution, a whispered question, am I enough? Am I safe? And yet beneath the worry, there is an unspoken beauty. This vigilance reflects a rare capacity for empathy, an extraordinary attentiveness to the interior world of another. He senses moods before they are named, perceives hurt before it surfaces. There's a sacredness in this perception, a recognition that human hearts are fragile and that care is not merely a feeling but a series of deliberate acts. Love, in its truest form here, is not taken lightly. It is a quiet labor, a tender and ongoing negotiation with oneself, with one's impulses, and with the ever-present possibility of harm. It is in these moments of silent reflection that the depth of his humanity emerges. The fear of hurting the woman he loves does not diminish the love itself. It intensifies it, shaping it into something more deliberate, more conscious, more aware. There is a poetry in the way he inhabits this tension, a subtle rhythm of anxiety and affection interwoven. He lives at the intersection of care and caution, learning slowly that the very act of watching, listening, and being present is, in itself, an offering. The fear of causing harm rarely emerges from nothing. It grows quietly, seated in the early landscapes of experience, watered by the subtle lessons of childhood. Perhaps it began in a home where words could sting, where gestures were misread and intentions were never enough. Or perhaps it emerged from a witnessing of fragility, seeing others suffer and internalizing the belief that even love, when mishandled, can leave invisible scars. These experiences, stitched into memory, create a lens through which every relationship is later viewed. The world is gentle, yes, but it is also precarious. Cultural and societal narratives compound this inner vigilance. From a young age, many men are taught that strength is responsibility, that care must be paired with caution. To act impulsively is to risk harm. To show emotion is to reveal vulnerability. These lessons are not always explicit, but they shape an emotional architecture that prioritizes preservation over spontaneity. The weight of expectation, both internal and external, creates a heightened attentiveness to the possible consequences of each choice. Love becomes a territory navigated with maps drawn from observation, reflection, and sometimes quiet fear. Psychological factors intertwine with these experiences. Empathy, while beautiful, can become a double-edged sword when paired with anticipatory guilt. The more deeply one feels for another, the more acutely one anticipates missteps, misunderstandings, or disappointments. The mind rehearses scenarios in advance, calculating potential wounds before they occur, as if preemptive vigilance could prevent all suffering. And in this rehearsal, there is both protection and constraint. While the capacity to foresee pain is a form of care, it also erects subtle barriers between intention and action, between heart and expression. The origins of this fear are rarely singular. They are woven from memory, temperament, and culture, layered with early relational models that taught men to self-regulate in the service of others. Over time, these lessons crystallize into habits of attention, patterns of cautious engagement, and a deeply felt awareness that love carries both privilege and risk. In adulthood, these men often carry a dual consciousness: the desire to connect fully and the persistent shadow of potential harm. Every gesture of affection is weighed, every word examined, every touch considered, and yet understanding the roots of this caution does not diminish the tenderness that drives it. It illuminates why fear and love can coexist, why vigilance can feel burdensome yet profound. It reveals a psychology that is intricate, human, and compassionate, one that respects the fragility of hearts and the weight of responsibility inherent in holding another close. The fear of hurting the woman they love is, in essence, a reflection of the depth of their care, the intensity of their empathy, and the intricate tapestry of their inner world. Within this careful attentiveness lies a tension, a quiet struggle between fear and desire. The men who fear hurting the women they love navigate a landscape where vulnerability is both necessary and perilous. They long to give themselves fully, yet every expression of affection carries the question, could this cause pain? This tension is not weakness, it is consciousness, a profound awareness that love is not merely possession or comfort, but a responsibility that stretches across the invisible threads connecting two hearts. The inner conflict manifests in subtle ways. There is resistance to spontaneity, a hesitation that colors laughter, speech, and intimacy. Moments of joy may be tinged with apprehension, and silence can feel as weighted as conversation. They wrestle with the paradox that care requires both presence and restraint. To act without fear is to risk misstep, to act with caution is to risk distance. And yet in this delicate balance, there are moments of clarity when vulnerability is embraced as a bridge rather than a threat. Psychology illuminates this interplay. Empathy allows anticipation of another's pain. Conscientiousness encourages carefulness. Neurobiological responses amplify sensitivity, heightened awareness of cues, subtle expressions, and tonal shifts. These men often experience emotional resonance intensely, feeling both their own responses and the mirrored echoes of the woman they love. Understanding these patterns reveals that the fear of hurting is not a flaw, but a deeply human mechanism for emotional attunement, a form of relational intelligence that speaks to the depth of their connection. Healing and integration emerge in recognition that love cannot exist in the absence of risk. True care requires the willingness to be imperfect, to communicate openly, and to inhabit vulnerability without rigid self-judgment. In those moments of acceptance, fear is transformed, not erased but reshaped into a guide rather than a cage. Awareness becomes a lens for compassion, both outward and inward, allowing love to flourish in full presence while honoring its fragility. In the stillness of reflection, the paradox of loving while fearing harm becomes poetic. The tension itself carries meaning, a subtle music beneath the rhythm of daily life. The man who watches, waits, and weighs each interaction is not diminished by caution. He is enriched by it, learning that care is an act of mindfulness, that attentiveness is an expression of devotion. The very fear that once constrained him now underscores the depth of his humanity, a testament to the tenderness and thoughtfulness that love can cultivate. And so the psychology of men who fear hurting the women they love is not a story of weakness, but of intricate emotional artistry. It is a testament to the profound ways in which awareness, empathy, and the willingness to inhabit uncertainty can transform fear into a form of reverent care. Love in this sense is both burden and liberation, a delicate, luminous dance between holding close and letting go, between trepidation and the courage to connect fully.